One of the things that we found out through Dr. Lair's work about writing things down is that actually has a significant impact on how we process situations. And one of the really cool things that Sherri does after game, well, I'm just going to let you tell it. I think it's such a wonderful way to access your players' thoughts.
And it's so elementary and so high school teacher-ish at the same time. I have an 8.5 by 11 piece of typing paper that has at the top the words Postgame Thoughts, and underneath it, it has the player's name and number and the opponent in the game. And my trusty assistant prints those off, and after the game, all of those are handed out to our team immediately when they come in the locker room. And so I'm on the main floor doing post-game media, and so before I come up to address the team, they go through those post-game thoughts. And I tell them that what I want them to write is how they feel about what happened in the game. I want them to analyze their own involvement in the game. I don't want to play-by-play. I was there, I watched it, I got it. If we had 22 turnovers, trust me, I know that. You don't need to tell me. But it takes a while for freshmen to learn how to do that. But they become very well versed at saying the truth about what just occurred in the game. And as players get older, after the game, you gather these up, you look at them and you go, oh my God, she's spot on, she's spot on. They know so much more than we think they do, so much more than we give them credit for. But we have to hear them, and part of the art sometimes is letting it be their idea and their revelation, letting it come from them, and then it has more power. But the high school teacher part of it, as I write on every one of them, just like I'm grading paper, you know, I just feel like if I'm gonna ask them to pour themselves out, then I need to validate that effort back to them. And so sometimes I'll ask why, question mark, why? What are you gonna do about it, question mark? But I do write on every single one of them. And if I don't return them the next day, they wanna know, where are they? That's their first thing. You can't get their attention until they've finished reading that piece of paper. And that goes back to what Dr. Lair said earlier, that we have such an authoritative voice. We have such a responsibility with that voice because everything I write or say on there really matters.
And to the point where you can actually now understand their handwriting.
Oh yeah, I can look at it before I even read it. I will know she is down. She is fired up. Ooh, she's angry. She's hurt. I literally can look at the way it's written, the size of the writing, the amount of the writing. I know where these guys are immediately. So the next day, I know the frame to put around the film room before we go to practice.
And how helpful is that information in crafting the message that you're delivering the next day?
It's unbelievably important because so many times a kid will play and I'll think, you know, she came off the bench, she gave us 10 minutes, she was fantastic. And I look at her post-game thoughts and she is not there at all. By the same token, I will think, ooh, she's gonna be upset because she didn't even go in. I'll look at hers and you can tell, you can feel that a kid is completely in the moment. She knew she didn't fit in this game and she's fine with it and she's thrilled for her team. So it keeps you from putting yourself in a position where you've then got to backtrack to get common ground before you can go forward. It sort of gives you that frame that you can operate from immediately.
And one of the other things that you have your players do to actually write down their thoughts is you have the seniors write a letter to their freshman self.
I actually have all my returnees write advice to my freshmen. And matter of fact, I got several of them today as we just started back. I got several of them in the back and was looking at them. And it's interesting that I asked them, what do you wish you would have known when you were a freshman? Because they always get older and they go, oh, I wish somebody, okay, let's pay forward a little bit here, let's tell. But it almost always goes back to trusting yourself, not being afraid, letting others in, connecting. Not one time has anyone ever said, practice your mid-range jumper more. Spend 10 minutes a day on ball handling. Never, never. It's always about trusting, connecting, not being afraid.
And I was preparing a speech with Shaka for this event, and one of the things that he was talking about was a really powerful exercise that they did with their guys was they would ask one question for 3 straight minutes. And the question was, what are you afraid of? And when I told you that, you just started kind of chuckling before I could even get it out. Talk about your experience.
Well, it has happened for years in individual player meetings in my office, which, by the way, if there's one thing that can make us all more effective coaches, it's spending more one-on-one time with our players. I believe that in my bones. Every year I make it a goal to do it more, and then every year again I want to do it even more because it's that valuable. But for years in those one-on-one meetings, they would say this, this, and this, and I'd say, yes, and what are you afraid of? And this, yes, and what are you afraid of? And eventually they get to the thing. And then when you get to the thing, then you can fix it. But you have to be perseverant in the asking. And that's what we translated this past year into our weekly team circles was serious question asking. Because they'll get close to it sometimes, but not really tell you what it is. And they want to stop right there. And you can feel when they really want to stop. And that's when you have to ask again, what are you really afraid of? And then when they tell you, the simple act of revealing it in that space starts to heal it almost immediately. That's part of the magic of it, is you think at the beginning that you're going to have the answer. If this is what she's afraid of, I got to tell her how to fix it. No, you don't. You just have to understand with compassion that that's where she is, and you create that environment, that air around her where she can start to excel.
And so those circle ups that you call them circles or circle ups?
We call them a little bit of everything. Joya nicknamed them circle ups.
Okay, so talk about like how do you set those circle ups? Like what's the structure?
There's not a lot of structure, honestly. When we first began them, I started with the question of, what are you afraid of? And it was a lot of awkward silence the first day or two that we did them. They developed, though, into these things that almost ran themselves. We started with, what do you want to get better at this week? And a kid would say what she wanted to get better at, finishing around the rim. And this kid over here would say, okay, I don't have class from 11 to 12. Are you free? I'll come in and I'll defend you. I'll smack you when you're going to the basket to see if we can get you better at that. Okay, great. And these alliances would build up, and these helping shared ownership of goals. And the other component of that was everybody saying the next week, how'd you do on that? This is what I wanted to get better at this week. How'd you do on that? And it doesn't take just one kid saying, you know, I really don't think you focused on it this week. You said you wanted to do that, but you really didn't. Takes care of it. Just a beautiful environment in that room where it's okay to tell the truth.
And how do you think that those circle ups has affected the chemistry and the performance on the court?
Oh, we got better immediately. It was unbelievable. And I think it's something that you have to stay highly conscious of all the time. It's like anything that you do, if you don't manage it in the right way, it can become another rote thing. But our guys believed in it, and it was hard. At the end of the year, I had a couple of players say that the hardest day of practice the entire year was the first one of those, which was over the Christmas break. We didn't run a sprint, we didn't touch a ball. We sat in a room and figured out how to be real with each other. And so that sears you. And at the end of the year, in the final post-game press conference, I have a junior who's been to the Sweet 16 and had a lot of success, and she said, this was the best year ever. I would do anything for these guys, and their connection is real. And that's the thing about coaching women. And I don't have any experience coaching men, so I can't really talk about that, but boy, when you sear them together, it's cement.